John Leckie is one of Britain's most acclaimed rock producers. He has produced and engineered music by Muse, the Stone Roses, Radiohead, Pink Floyd and many, many more. An invited audience of 80 record producers gathered at Abbey Road Studios, where George Shilling sat down with John to chat about the studios and his amazing career there.
Where's your shoes? You're fired.
I just got a D19C. If I put it over the drummer, will it sound like Ringo? Use a note or some
That's right.
Shane Howard, that's me, with the help of Tape Community Music and Film, have brought the conversation to life through my animations.
So, what was the question?
I don't know. It was a quad mix of Tubular Bells as well. But whenever you talk to anybody involved with those, or they was, oh no, it wasn't very good. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if it wasn't very good. I'd still love to hear it. Just from a historical sort of perspective. Should we invite questions, Mike, or what do you want to?
What do you think about remixing the Beatles, for example, and classic records? Do you think they should be in some ways as left as they are, or do you think? That...
Well, they are left. They're left. That's in addition to being left as they are, aren't they? So you still got the choice of listening to the old version, as it were.
Maybe rephrase it. Do you enjoy listening to the remixed?
Out of curiosity, yeah. I don't think I'd go. I'd say they're better or worse, really. I mean, it's great that Giles is doing it and not some other really guy who's not connected. I mean, everyone's very, very precious about it, and doing the right thing. Really, it's great. It's great. I don't know about other bands. I mean, we're talking Giles and the Beatles. I mean, does anyone remix the Stones? Has anyone remixed Satisfaction? I don't know. They've still got the multi-track. I don't know.
Andrew Loog Oldham's got
Andrew Loog Oldham
covered in Columbia.
5.1 mix by Andrew Loog Oldham. I don't know.
Greg Penny did.
He did a lot of Elton John ones, didn't he? Yeah.
Gus should have done that, really.
Well, yeah.
Gus did all the mixing for Elton John. Elton was never there. Gus did it on his own. He would have told you that. Anyway.
Next.
It's a question.
Yeah. So, John, you mentioned putting vocals through a Leslie speaker and those types of things. What types of things, as an engineer, would you consider are your creative moments?
My creative moments.
The highlights.
Every moment's creative.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I can't really say that because,
Well, I've asked a lot of engineers that question, and Ken Scott mentioned about when he was working on a session and he had to be able to suspend the microphone inside the drum.
Oh,
He got into the habit of making it without the front head on, but the drummer at the time couldn't play. So they had to figure out a way of suspending the microphone in the drum and doing it that way. Is there anything that you can think of that you've done?
When did you feel most pleased with yourself?
I felt most pleased with myself, and I still say it is XTC, the Dukes of Stratosphere, which was a record by XTC, and they called themselves the Dukes of Stratosphere because they wanted to do like a 60s psychedelic record. And we went in the studio. We did 6 tracks. I don't think the songs were written, and in two weeks, 12 days, we
didn't Tony engineer some of that?
No, I don't think.
Didn't you do some of that, Tony?
No.
Oh,
no, Tony wasn't there. And we went to Chapel Lane Studios up in Hereford, which was great, and we're there for 2 weeks and did this great record that what can I say? Kitchen sink was on it and everything else, So
you were just using lots of 60s techniques, or was it kind of a case of revisiting?
It was on 24 track, but it went all the way through from the guitar sound to the drum sound and everything else. And also the mix was totally screwed up as well.
Yeah.
There was nothing flat about it really when it comes to the mix.
Because was it the fact that you were kind of just doing it for the hell of it, and they were kind of in a position where they could do what they like and have a bit of a laugh?
It was a great relief for them because they were under a lot of pressure from Virgin to come up with a hit single.
Right.
Because that's the big thing. I mean, maybe it's different now. I don't know, but you know, making records in those days, in the 80s, 90s and 2000s, before streaming and everything else took over, you're always after the hit single. You're always chasing the hit single.
Still are.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. But much more, you know, the record company, you know, and if the band could do a great album, and if there wasn't a hit single, if there wasn't 4 hit singles, they were dropped and they were out. So, and that had a lot to do with the recording, really. You know, you were much more trying to make things great.
So they had enough hits then that they could warrant going and having a bit of a laugh and doing the Dukes of Stratosphere?
Yeah. They never had enough.
They'd recouped and they were like...
They never recouped.
No, I didn't think it, no.
They spent it all on videos. Nearly all bands in the 80s never recouped because of the video costs, you know. And that used to come out of producers' fees. You had to sign in your contract, but you know, I always used to cross it out, and they'd give you this big contract about how much royalties they were going to give you, and right at the end they'd say no royalties will be paid until all recording and video costs are recouped. So you know, you could bring your record in under budget, and then you'd go off and spend £500,000 on a video, and so you never get anything.
Well, you had SAFTA batting for you for that, didn't you?
Well,
I'm sure he'd be onto that, wouldn't he?
In the contract, you just cross it out, and they don't know. You know. Anyway,
because when you went freelance, you were managed by SAFTA for a long time, weren't you? And he was your sort of main agent for.
Yeah, but I was freelance for 10 years before that.
Yeah.
When I left here in 1978. And one of the reasons I left here is because they wouldn't hire me out. So I was producing, although I was a staff engineer here, I was producing bands like XTC and Bebop Deluxe and Magazine, the first Simple Minds album, all which I did in this room when it was around the other way. And I was still a staff engineer, so, you know, I was booking the studio. I used to think, you know, this is a job where they train you to be a client, you know, because they trained me to be a record producer, and there I was coming back as a client, booking 6 weeks in Abbey Road. You know, so those days, you know, you used to book not 6 days, but 6 weeks. You would book 7 days a week.
Well, you couldn't do the vocals in your spare bedroom then, could you?
No, you couldn't.
Have to be here still.
That's right. So yes, I'd booked these. I did various albums here for over a period of 3 years, really. And it came, the Virgin, I was doing a lot of work for Virgin, and they opened the Townhouse, and they wanted me to do XTC, which was a Virgin band, at the Townhouse. And so I went to Ken Townsend and said, hey, you know, that band that I was, you know, did the record in 3 last year, they want me to do it at their studio. He said, you can't do it, you're booked, you know, you work for EMI, you don't work for Virgin. And I'm going, yeah, but they'll pay for me. So I went back to Virgin. They said, that's stupid. Just whatever you cost, you know. We'll ask them what your fee is. You know, what your £200 a day. This is in 1978. You know, and they still said no. And they still said no. If you go off and do that record, you can work for an EMI band at another studio, and you can bring other record company bands to Abbey Road, but you can't work for another band at another studio. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why not? And then I went to Manchester, what used to be Manchester Square, to see if they could make me into an A&R man or a house producer, because we had the house producers in those days. And very often you'd get a band would come in and you'll be the engineer, and the EMI house producer wouldn't turn up. So in a way, that's how I learnt to produce, was because I would be doing sessions, albums, like all the recording, all the mixing and everything, with no producer. And I was just the engineer, and that's how I learnt what to do, really. So yeah, so that's when I left, really, and I was on my own. You know, I didn't want to leave. So, but it seems funny now in this day and age that they didn't allow to hire me out. You know, and the day I'm not going to both go on about this, but I had 3 albums in the top 30 and a top 20 single that I'd engineered and produced on the day I left. You know, I had the Adverts and XTC and Bebop Deluxe albums and an Advert single, Top of the Pops, you know. It's like, no, we don't need you anymore, go away.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Was that all right, mate?
That was fantastic. That's brilliant.
Is that the sort of thing you wanted?